Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my discussion on the Eyegaze learning curve and the TD or Tobii Dynavox ecosystem. So first, a little bit about myself. My name is Idalie or Idalie Fernandez, and I am originally from New York, living in Stockholm. I've been here in Stockholm for about 8 years, and my background is in media and advertising. I'm a mom. I have 2 very sweet boys. I started working at Tobii Dynavox in April of 2019, so it's been about 1.5 years now, and I am the account manager for Eastern and Central Europe and the Baltic countries, and I'm still learning lots about AAC and assistive technology, so thanks for being part of my learning journey. First, a little bit about the company. Tobii Dynavox started in 2001 out of the garage of 3 Swedish entrepreneurs. And today, Tobii Dynavox is the leader in eye tracking, communication devices, and in AAC software. It is the assistive technology and assistive technology business of Tobii Group, which is comprised of 2 other businesses, Tobii Pro, which is the consumer marketing and research business, and Tobii Tech, which you may be familiar with for their gaming eye trackers and components. And together we are a Tobii Group, and Tobii Dynavox specifically is based in Sweden and in the US with about 420 employees worldwide. We have representation in about 65 countries and 120 partners working with us locally in countries such as Bulgaria. Our partner here is Treta. And our mission is the power to be you, to empower people with disabilities to do what they once did or never thought possible. And it's not just about communication. It's about all the experiences that shape our communication and how we interact with others, whether it's learning to read and write, controlling the things around you, handling emotions, and learning to interact socially. What role does Tobii Dynavox play in that? This is our agenda. So we're going to look at the Tobii Dynavox ecosystem. We're going to look through our software and hardware options. We're going to talk a little bit about what is eye tracking, some of the keys for success. We're going to go through the learning curve briefly, and then we're going to look at real user stories. So first, our ecosystem. We put the user in the center because he or she is the focus. And our goal is to surround them in an environment of consistency, starting with our symbols, which is to provide opportunities for the most success. The symbols are present throughout our emerging learner software, expressing language through our communication devices and hardware, and the content and resources that are implemented by everyone in the user's network or life. From the parents and the family to educators or therapy professionals, getting everyone on board for a consistent environment to optimize language and language development in different environments and different contexts. So the content and resources are available to help motivate, teach, and develop language to the individual's fullest potential with the aim of optimizing independence. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Tobii Dynavox products because the ecosystem is also comprised of software and hardware that supports the person on their AAC journey. So we're going to look at those to familiarize you. First, do you know what PCS is? It stands for Picture Communication Symbols. And PCS symbols were created over 30 years ago by Roxy Mayer, who was an SLP in the early 80s. So she was working with learners with cognitive and physical impairments. And today, the PCS symbols in BoardMaker, which is one of our most widely used and recognized symbol languages around the world. They're the heart of our software, primarily providing a symbol language to create printed low-tech tools to teach communication in the classroom, therapy, and/or to reinforce it at home. So there are three different types of PCS symbols. There's PCS Classic, there is also thin line, and finally, we have high contrast for those with visual impairments. PCS is easy to learn, it promotes growth, helps make communication efficient, it's flexible in providing a wide variety of topics, and is culturally contextual where we have local PCS libraries in different countries and languages, which include symbols for words like cricket or a landmark like the Eiffel Tower. We've even added symbols as recent as for the US election, which is on the 3rd of November, to educate students about current events and to give them a voice. We add new symbols regularly, and today we have over 45,000 symbols plus PCS country libraries and counting. And these are at the center of our ecosystem to enable communication and development for our users. And here's our symbol and text software. Whether the person is a symbol user, transitioning to literacy, or literate, our software is here for various stages and for the support system around the user. Therapists, family, caretakers, and the user, of course. They're available for all access methods. So let's take a brief look at each one. Here we have Boardmaker. This is our education platform, enabling educators and therapists to create or edit printed templates and materials for the classroom to promote communication from behavioral supports to visual schedules, games, books, calendars, calculators, sequencing, and much more. It's easy to get started with Boardmaker. It's fast and simple to use for anyone. And soon, we're launching Boardmaker 7, so check with your local Tobii Dynavox representative for the new Boardmaker 7 so that you can get started quickly in the classroom. And here we have SnapCore First, which is an evidence-based software solution featuring core words and PCS symbols with the aim of growing literacy and communication skills. Here we have a few examples of SnapCore First page sets, including core words. And these are a small number of words that make up about 70 to 90% of what we actually say on a daily basis, available in different grid size. We also have our topic words, which are used to extend vocabulary and for contextual situations, and quick fires, which maximize effective communication for quick responses. SnapCore First is available in more than 13 languages today, and soon we'll be coming out with more languages, not just the ones that you see here on the screen, but very soon we'll be getting Finnish, Russian, Polish, Croatian, and more, starting from the end of this year through 2021. We're also looking at an integration with Google Assistant and English version of Pod, which is very exciting. So keep an eye out for that. We also have Communicator 5, which you may be familiar with, and this is a powerful communication tool that converts text and symbols into speech, and offers Windows access, email, text messaging, telephone, environmental control, and more. And here is just what that might look like. And users of Communicator 5 can fully participate in social networks, enjoy all the capabilities of streaming apps, and communicate via messaging and video apps such as the ones seen here. So very popular apps including Facebook, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Netflix, Spotify, or read a book on Kindle or other apps as well. And here we have Snapscene, which uses images to support communication, literacy, and behavior, using interactive visual scenes. So here you can see that you can draw a hotspot and a link, and you can use that to communicate things like, there's the ball, or talk about turn taking, which is, look at how he gives the ball to her next. It's a really powerful tool. Lastly, this is our text-based software, Computer Control, which is a new intuitive way of interacting with and controlling your computer or desktop via eye tracking. It's designed for individuals who want to make full use of their computer independently. And here are some shots of what that might look like for the user to be able to access their computer. So these are our multi-access devices. So our software is paired with one or more of these devices that enable communication, which can accommodate different types of access needs, whether you are mounting it or carrying it or using it with eye gaze or touch. They're built for users with varying motor and speech challenges. So here we have our multi-access touch devices and accessories. And they also work with switches and scanning and key guards. So the Indie, which is on the left-hand side, comes in two sizes, 7-inch and 10-inch, and it's our entry-level portable communication device. The black device in the center is the I-110, and it's the most robust and durable medical-grade touch device. So that just means that it's durable for the most active of users and will not break if thrown on the floor or dropped on the floor. And I mean, nothing is perfect, but if it does break, it's covered by warranty, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Both the Indie and the I-110 are Windows compatible. And finally, on the top right corner, we have the speech case for the iPad, and that is a protective case with clear, loud speakers, making the iPad more durable, also for active users. And finally, we have our multi-access eye tracking devices. On the bottom, sort of to the center left, we have our newest lightweight portable eye tracker, the new PCI 5th generation, which plugs into a Windows laptop up to 27 inches and can be used in outdoor or bright light conditions. It's for getting started with eye tracking or for advanced eye tracking skills. And on the left, top left, we have the iMobile Plus with a built-in bracket with speech recognition, switch port, and infrared for hands-free access on a Windows Surface or other Windows tablet. Finally, on the right, on the top right, we have the iSeries, or the new iSeries, which is a purpose-built, fully integrated medical-grade device. And it's available in 13 and 16 inches. It's rugged, it's durable, and it works in bright light conditions as well in nearly any environment. And it features the partner window on the back side, which is a second screen on the back of the device, which enables true face-to-face communication and independence. So I talked a little bit about medical grade, but what is that? So the new iSeries and the I-110 for touch, medical grade means that these devices have accidental damage insurance for 3 years. So if the device breaks for any reason, we will replace it within that time period. That also means that these devices have been run by stringent testing criteria, such as a drop test for robustness and durability. It's resistant to fluids and liquids, even rain. And the screen is made of strong Gorilla Glass, which prevents breaks to the screen. And it's made to withstand everyday regular use, such as going to the playground, being in the sandbox, eating food, liquid spills, or other fluids, and it's also resistant to humid environments. So just don't take it to the sauna or to the bathtub. That's not the best place to use it, but anywhere else, or just about anywhere else, will work. So that was an overview of the tools of the Tobii Dynavox ecosystem. Now let's take a look at what is eye tracking and what is the learning curve. Someone once said the eyes are the mirror of the soul, and one of the most critical topics related to eye tracking is the ability for self-expression and also independence. This may include learning who you are, learning to relate to others through eye tracking. It may also include expressing whether you're happy or feeling funny, sad or angry, asking for help when needed, and ultimately achieving independence to be able to do things on your own without having to always rely on others, whether that's also learning to read or choosing what to study at school for your profession, or just simply controlling the environment around you because the temperature is cold outside. So you'd like to turn the temperature up inside, and you can do that with your eyes or switch because our devices enable our users to do so. So Steve Gleason is a well-known American football player who was diagnosed with ALS as an adult, and he said, before eye tracking technology became available, once people lost their ability to type, they could no longer communicate. But that all changed with this revolutionary innovation. Today, patients can continue communicating by typing with their eyes. And he's right. It's our goal to help everyone communicate and also to do the things that they once did or never thought possible, including advocate for themselves to get those things that they need. That leads us to what is eye tracking. It's another access method that's learned, such as when we learn to write with a pen or pencil, or type on a keyboard, use a mouse to navigate our screen or our computer, play with a joystick or a controller. And our approach is to map the process and need to learn no matter how intuitive, so that when you look at something, you know that something is going to happen on the screen. How does eye tracking work? The camera finds your eyes and it projects light onto your eyes. Then it tracks and analyzes your eye movement and gaze. That's eye tracking. And we're the only eye tracking company that tracks both light and dark people dynamically, which means that we process images continuously to use the best one for the most reliable eye tracking and also for the largest population possible. So then you use your eyes to gaze or focus and then point or select something on the screen, which is basically fixating on an intended item. So our newest eye trackers, the iSeries and the PCI 5th generation, also have exclusive technology that works in bright light conditions or in outdoor conditions for the best eye tracking results possible in the market today. And a few considerations to bear in mind is that positioning is key. So whether you're using your eye tracker on a wheelchair, from a wheelchair, on a table, from the bed or the floor, the positioning is very important. So you should have your eyes parallel to the screen. And a very important tip is that if it's not working, adjust the device for comfort, not the user. And those are some tips for success. So we're going to take a look at the different phases of learning to use eye gaze and what the learning curve can look like, because eye tracking is learned. So this is the Eyegaze Pathway. In the Eyegaze Pathway, there are 6 phases that are designed to demonstrate that communication is evident at each step of the way, regardless of the learner's experience with eye gaze. The focus is on the communication and learning. This is a recommended guide on how to start developing eye gaze skill. It's not some starting point. It's not the same starting point for everyone, as some users have been interacting with a screen for a long time, and other users, this may be the very first time that they're ever interacting with a screen. And there's also everything in between. But mainly, no one starts out with experience using eye gaze as their access method. So you can choose your own starting point. And we have screen engagement, responding, exploring, targeting, choosing, and full control. So we'll briefly look at the main differences between them. The first one is screen engagement. And basically this means something happens if I look at the screen. And as an example, I'll talk about having bubbles on the screen because kids love bubbles. And you'll see how the complexity develops throughout the pathway. In this first stage, the only expectation is that the bubbles are there and that the person is looking at the screen. That's the main goal. It's engagement and looking. The second phase is responding. As the communication partner, what this means is I get different responses when I look at certain parts of the screen. So the communication partner responds to the user's gaze. So they are demonstrating perhaps by pointing that there are bubbles on the screen and showing that they're in different colors, for instance. So this is an opportunity that you can use to reinforce or enrich language and vocabulary, and you can use modeling to do that. So you could point at the screen and say, oh, look, here's a blue bubble, and there's the red one. And oh, look, there's a purple bubble. So it's a really great way to enforce vocabulary as well. And the expectation is quite low for the user. The third stage, exploring. This means changes happen when I look at different parts of the screen. So now the person is looking around at all the bubbles on the screen, seeing them move, and exploring whether there is any connection to making things happen. There might be this is an introduction to cause and effect here, and this can happen with a facilitator or alone, just playing and exploring what's going on the screen. In the fourth stage, targeting, you gaze at a particular part of the screen to make something specific happen. So what that means is the user is aware or starting to become aware that the bubbles are reacting or moving when looking at them. So this is how you learn to manipulate the screen, and this is the beginning of dwelling on an object or fixating on an object. So these relate both to the eye gaze skill that's being practiced and also the vocabulary that's being developed throughout attempting an activity. And they all follow the same structure, even if the difficulty level increases as we move through. So now we're just gonna watch a video with Molly. In this video, Molly will be punching fruit and causing it to burst. So let's check it out.
Strawberry.
Because that's
Peach.
learning.
Oh, where's it gone? Peaches. We missed the peach. There's the peach.
Have I put you on?
Yay. Oh, big watermelon. Big watermelon. Yeah. Lemon. Oh, hey, splat. Apple splat.
So here we can see that Molly is beginning to dwell or fixate on an item. She's causing it to burst, or she's also performing a click. And this is the beginning of intent. So it takes time and practice. And again, not everyone starts at the very first stage. Some people may start at targeting, which is this stage, or even the next stage, depending on their exposure to eye tracking and or to computers. The fifth stage is called choosing. In choosing, you dwell your gaze to select specific on-screen content, and here the user learns to hold their gaze long enough on a specific bubble to either make the bubble pop or just to control it. So we have the skills to select amongst multiple objects, perhaps like something on a communication board like the one around me. And the key is to learn to move things, select things, and again, this takes time and practice. And adults may know how to use a computer, but now learning to access it with their eyes, and that happens at this stage. And it's important to teach and learn before using eye gaze to optimize the user's success. So this is the final stage, which is called full control. And you use your gaze here to independently communicate and control the computer. So the key here is that you are learning to move objects on the screen and to make those intentional choices or selections. And all this leads to independence, be it by way of finding and accessing the content or entertainment when you want, and doing other things on your own, like seeing who's at the door on your screen and opening it from your screen, or sending messages on WhatsApp, or accessing your favorite social media site, all with your eyes. We're also working on giving people access to games, which is a really great way to move through the process or through the phases of the Eyegaze pathway and to develop further into the learning curve. It's for all levels, from assessment or beginner level to advanced, and mainstream games like FIFA, which is a popular football game, and more advanced users have been requesting access to games such as these so that they can play with their peers, their friends, and their siblings. And our goal is to make that more accessible to everyone, to play, to participate, to interact. So that was the Eyegaze Pathway or learning curve. And to learn more about it and watch some videos with really good pointers or tips, you can go to tobiidynavox.com/eye-gaze-pathway. And I'll just leave that up for a second so that you can either take a screenshot or a photo or write it down. So what is needed to achieve success? Motivation, the appropriate content for the individual in order to engage them properly. They need to be interested. That's a very important part of the process. Also, good positioning. The person needs to be comfortable in order to be at their best for making this work. And lots of exposure and practice and a calibration. You don't need to have a 9-point calibration for the beginning stages or when you're using larger targets. You just need perhaps a 1 or 2-point calibration. It's for any age and skill set. Finally, we're going to look at the stories of 3 different people who use our devices at different stages of their journey. So let's meet some of our community members. There are many complex disabilities where communication or a dedicated eye gaze device would be beneficial, and that includes ones with different and varying visual, physical, cognitive, or processing abilities. So here we're going to meet Ava, and Ava has Rett syndrome, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with Rett syndrome, I'll talk a little bit about it due to its rarity. It's a rare genetic neurological disorder that occurs almost exclusively in girls, and it leads to potential severe impairments affecting nearly every aspect of a child's life, including their ability to speak, walk, talk, and even breathe easily. The most recognizable symptom is this near constant repetitive hand movement. We're going to talk about how Ava uses her eye series with the partner window on the backside, and SnapCore First, our symbol software to grow literacy and communication skills using core words. So Ava uses her eyes to communicate and to interact with the world around her, and it can be really challenging to teach eye gaze skills to a child, and using games to motivate is really a great way forward or to start. And it's so choosing that right content and motivation are very important, as we discussed in the Eyegaze learning curve or pathway. Ava's mother is a teacher, and she decided to become a full-time at-home teacher to develop Ava's communication and literacy skills. And in the beginning of their journey, she used modeling a lot to help Ava learn communication. And their journey is really amazing to follow on Facebook. So if you'd like to check it out and follow her, it's Angel Ava on Facebook. So this is Ava today. And here's another really great photo of Ava. And this is actually before the summer. And she was a bit tired of COVID-19 and being at home and learning at home. She wanted to go back to school to be with her friends, and her iSeries device with the partner window, which you can see here, allows her to communicate with her mom or with anyone else. And in this instance, she is communicating with her mom, and she's saying that she's tired of being at home and learning at home. She wants to go back to school to be with her friends. So you can see she's able to use her device for self-expression and to convey her thoughts and feelings, her wants and needs. And she does that very clearly here with her sassiness. So that's Ava. So now we'll meet Angie. And Angie has cerebral palsy, and she's in a different stage of her journey than Ava. She's already literate. So Angie has cerebral palsy, and many users with cerebral palsy start out playing games and learning what is their preferred access method. They work with symbols, and in Angie's case now is literate. So Angie's needs are a bit different today than when she was first starting out in the Eyegaze Pathway. So as I mentioned, now she's literate, she's comfortable with Eyegaze, but she may be deciding what she wants to study in school. She has homework, she wants to socialize with her friends, interact on social media, and the technology enables her to participate in these activities, such as we can see her here at a cupcake shop and where she wants to order a peanut butter cupcake, and she can do that for herself. And now let's meet Jeff. Jeff was diagnosed with ALS as an adult, so he was already literate and computer proficient at the time of his diagnosis. Jeff would like to be able to continue doing all the things he once did independently, all his passions, all his interests, such as coaching a child's basketball team. So Jeff can bring his iSeries with him everywhere to any environment, whether it's the basketball court or to the beach to communicate with family and friends, in person or at a distance. And the eye tracking works in bright light conditions so that this technology was developed exclusively for our users, based on their needs, their eye tracking needs. And the aim of our software, as you can see here, Jeff is interacting with Communicator 5. It's to make interaction as easy as possible and to enable, like I said, communication long distance, in person, on social media, to help maximize quality of life, to be able to ask for things or just to be able to say things like, I love you. So Jeff can use Google Assistant for environmental control, to turn on and off his lights. He can listen to or read the news, he can go outside, he can interact with others and the world around him, and he can continue to coach basketball, one of his passions. And he's able to live a full and active life. And that's really our aim. So Tobii Dynavox brings limitless access to users in daily life. We're just scratching the surface of what we can do. We are focused on driving innovation and creating accessible tools that will allow people to live life to the fullest and to their fullest potential. I hope this was a helpful presentation. Thank you so much for joining me today.